Well, what the heck is the difference between the International Symposium on Sustainable Systems and Technologies, the International Congress on Sustainability Science and Engineering, and the International Congress on Sustainability Sciences? Trust me, there are some differences, but they're not readily apparent just by looking at the title. The third conference here is predominantly social scientists, taking a social science approach. They are strongly international. They've conferred in Rome and in Tokyo and in Tempe, where I work at Arizona State University. They've created a new international society for sustainability science, which I think is, kind of interesting. One of the differences, although it's superficial, is that we are in our 20th year. I say it's superficial because we look nothing like the group that started this train 20 years ago. I wasn't there. I don't know if there are people in the room who were there, but they can spin some tales for me at the poster session. So I started thinking, though, about what are some of the other differences. This is now the IEEE offering. I mentioned that we're no longer part of IEEE. This is what IEEE is doing. It's another conference that has some superficial similarity to what we're doing. This is a crowded but growing space of people who are concerned about sustainability. Where I want to go, I've been convinced by these things, where I want to go is away from a Gutenberg technology-based approach to science and towards a 21st century approach to science. I did a little reading up on the Royal Society and some of the early scientific societies, and they are organized around the periodical, around the journal, around the printing press. They remain organized this way over 500 years later. They're not able to incorporate the information communication technology tools that are available to us now, partly out of habit and partly because us tenured-old fogies get stuck in our ways and it's good enough for us and we don't want to change. I do not believe that's good enough for the graduate students in our audience who can expect, I think if they're fortunate, to have careers that will span both this Gutenberg-based model and a 21st century digital technologies model. So what would a scientific society look like if it was organized around 21st century technologies instead of around 15th century technologies? And that's hard to say. I think it would not look like a society. I think we need a new word to describe what this new approach to sharing and creating knowledge is going to be. So I sat in the office of the Arizona Corporation Commission, where you file your paperwork to start a new corporation. And I had my Wi-Fi and my paperwork, and I went through all the good names. Believe me, if you have a name that you think is good, better than what I've come up with, it's taken. I created a new corporation. This is a nonprofit corporation organized in the state of Arizona. It's called the Sustainability Conoscente Network, because a 21st century model for science will not be a society. It will be a network. And you can call it a social network, but I'm calling it a science network. The question is, what does this word Conoscente mean? Now, if you see a new word and you don't know what it means, one of the best sources of information is Urban Dictionary, which I think is authored by a bunch of 14-year-olds because it's scatological and profane, but it tells you what the heck they're talking about, and I have teenage kids. So sure enough, this Conoscente word, I didn't invent that word. It is a word, but people have created new words out of it. One of them is coffeecente. And this is the idea of someone who's a coffee snob, and I know that there are some people who fit this description in our audience, so I'm using this as an example of how we make up new words that mean things to us and we get to define what they are. It comes from this sense of cognoscente, someone who's cognitively qualified as an expert. But it means more than just this sort of source of expertise. Here I've looked up a real definition, and it says people with informed appreciation of a particular field. They're connoisseurs in this field. You are connoisseurs of sustainability. But Conoscente also, according to the interweb, means something in Italian. It means acquaintance. And I like this double meaning. You are now acquainted with people who are expert in sustainability. You're not BFF necessarily. We got a couple more days for the conference, and we'll see how you feel after the poster session. But you're now acquainted with people associated in this network who have something in common and have expertise to bring and hopefully knowledge to share.